Shalom, shalom, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome back. I hope everybody's had a good day today. A good little while. I know it's been a minute. Welcome back to Reading with Shilo. We're here for the next edition. The next edition of Reading with Shilo. So we're gonna pick up. It's been a long week, man. Sorry for the absence. Been getting a lot of stuff done. Real busy around the land, the property. But the next book on the list we're going to read about is Mr. Marcus Garvey. Selected Sayings of Mr. Marcus Garvey in Emancipated from Slavery. Emancipated from Slavery. Oh, man. Let's see. Unlike his namesake, Zeke of Africa, Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in Washington, D.C. Terms used to describe him include tall, daddy, brother, system analyst, producer personified, editor, researcher, writer, and arrogant. He lived his early years in D.C. before relocating to Chicago, Kansas City, and Concord, North Carolina, ultimately returning to the city of his birth. A graduate of the University of the District of Columbia, he has spent various amounts of time in Haiti, Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas, Ethiopia, Italy, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, South Africa, and England. Right now, melanin, the aromatic biopolymer, an organic semiconductor that makes Black people Black, is worth over $380 a gram more than gold. Melanin is worth more than gold, silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium, and coltan combined. In just a few short years, on August the 13th of 2020, the red, black, and green flag will be celebrated as the colors of all African people. We also know the song lyric, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourselves can free our minds," commonly associated with Bob Marley. Bob Marley actually originated with Marcus Garvey. We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. For though others may free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Those are the words which Marcus Garvey spoke in October of 1937. The place, Menelik Hall in Sydney, Nova Scotia. This selection of sayings of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey provides an introduction to the mind of the man capable of speaking words into existence, which continue to have a profound impact on those who hear them to this very day. All right. Emancipated from mental slavery. Select sayings of Mr. Marcus Garvey. That was the back of the book. We got Mr. Marcus Garvey on the front. We have Mr. Marcus Garvey from 1887 to 1940. For Facebook and for... He's looking dapper. Looking real dapper in his military getup. Levicated to the centurion of Jamaica's first, to the centenary, Levicated to the centenary of Jamaica's first national hero from 1887 to 1987. Edited by Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Mr. Marcus Garvey. It was Emancipated from Mental Slavery, Selected Sayings of Marcus Garvey is a new compilation, first published by the Imhotep Corporation in 2013. Solutions for your social, political, and economic problems. And if you are convinced, then look seek, and be determined to find those who carry out his teachings and assist. Signed, the spirit behind the pen. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League can be contacted at P.O. Box 6657, Cleveland, Ohio, 44101. 216-264-9673. So this book doesn't have chapters, so we're going to play it by ear. That's why in the description I put part one, because that's what it is, part one. It does have a table of contents. It has the editor's preface, action, Africa, ambition, America, chance, Christianity, Christmas, civilization, communism, communism in America, confidence, criticism, death, disarmament, economics, education, emancipation, equality, Ethiopia, evolution, extermination, faith, fear, force, forward to Africa, the future, God, government, history, industry, injustice, intellectual, king, leadership, life, love, look up, you mighty race, man, nationality, nationhood, one, organization, peace, poverty, power, prejudice, preparedness, principle, propaganda, race, religion, responsibility, righteousness, slavery, solution, sovereignty, traitors, UNIA, utopia, wars, wealth, women, about the author, and references. So it has 59 pages. We're going to see how it reads. And maybe we should be able to get through these 59 pages relatively quickly. All right, let's start off. Editor's preface. We first came to know of Marcus Garvey in 1992. There was much discussion at that time about the production of the movie Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee. Some expressed concern regarding the manner in which Lee would depict Malcolm. In anticipation of the movie's release, we decided to read the Autobiography of Malcolm X. The first chapter of Malcolm's autobiography primarily covers four subjects: Malcolm's mother, Louise Langdon Little, his father, the Reverend Earl Little, Marcus Garvey, and the organization of which Garvey was president general, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or the UNIA. Malcolm's father was a UNIA division president. Malcolm's parents met at the UNIA convention in Toronto, Canada. By the end of that first chapter, a question formed in our mind: whatever happened to the UNIA? As if in an answer to our question, we later heard on a radio station, WPFW in Washington, D.C., two brothers who would feature prominently in the manifestation of this book, Senghor Bey, now Bayel, and William Henry Jackson Bey. They were discussing the upcoming UNIA convention to be held in Washington in August of 1992. We attended the convention, completed the application for membership, and our journey began. The rest, as it has been said, is history. Upon joining the UNIA, we were given the Constitution and told to read it. We were also told to read the philosophy and the opinions of Marcus Garvey, Race First, by Dr. Tony Martin, and Message to the People, the course of African philosophy. Those only opened the gateway to a flood of knowledge. That flood involved going through every copy of the Negro World newspaper on microfilm. After that came the Amy Jacques Garvey's, Garvey and Garveyism, and Black Power in America, the power of the human spirit. By the time we went through the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, Volume 3, it was apparent that the UNIA is more than just a legacy. As the organization, it is literally a means through which Black people, African people, at home and abroad, can get to know themselves. Before knowing who he was, we had seen Marcus Garvey's picture on 2 occasions. The first was while reading volume 2 on the ebony pictorial history of Black America. The page had 2 pictures. One was an image of a man appearing to be Black and about to be lynched. It was a still shot from D.W. Griffin's movie, The Birth of a Nation. The idea of a man who obviously was not Black in the process of being lynched so captivated us that we never delved into the real Black man on that page. The other picture on that page was Garvey in his iconic beaver skin Governor General's helmet. The second occasion of seeing Garvey was at Banneker Junior High School. The same image of Garvey was painted on the wall inside the door of a history classroom. It would be years before we learned the identity of the man in those images. When we found Marcus Garvey, we found ourselves. The original version of this book made its way to us through one of our most inspiring collaborators, Munga Mwarima. Imwarima Karma. I know I'm probably messing some of these names up right now, boy. But I'm going to say them as best as I can. After his first trip to Jamaica, he brought several copies of the book with him upon his return. Published by the Kingston, Jamaica division of the UNIA, we had added to its content with both context and imagery. The present volume is a distillation of Garvey, thought intended to give the reader a quick start to the basics of Garveyism. It is not a book to be read once and put aside. It is meant as a reference book. Use it constantly as a source of inspiration again and again. Marcus Garvey seemed to have a position on nearly everything. The wide range of topics shows he felt it was important to make his position clear to prevent misrepresentation by others. That's a good thought. Even these many decades after he last opened his eyes, there appears to be an effort up to this very moment to what is this word? Obfuscate. 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 O-B-F-U. Not in here. Obfuscate. Ooh-wee. Long time. Obfuscate. O-B-F-U-S-C-A-T-E. Obfuscate. To make obscure. In the way. Obfuscate. In the way. To make obscure. To make obscure or obfuscate his message. There are those who continue to characterize Garvey as a conventional figure. a controversial figure who wanted to take the entire African diaspora back to Africa. Then there are those who will rename the organization the United Negro Improvement Association. Marcus Garvey's enduring appeal is demonstrated not only through the fact he receives, on average, 90,000 internet searches per month. Garvey continues to reach the minds of billions through none other than Bob Marley. The title of this book alludes to the lyric included in Marley's redemption song, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind," is the paraphrased quote from the speech Marcus Garvey gave at Menelek Hall in Sydney, Nova Scotia during 1937. The speech Marcus Garvey gave that day, entitled "The Work That Has Been Done," proves he had lost none of his early vigor as a thinker and orator. The book reveals that lyric to be the culmination of a continuum of ideas whose time has come. The world we live in today is radically different from the world of the UNIA in its heyday. The UNIA, in our opinion, represents a culture of hope. A few facts should aid the casual observer in attaining and maintaining a hopeful spirit. Nigeria has at this moment the 20th largest economy on earth. 5 years ago, it surpassed South Africa as the largest economy in Africa. 9 of Earth's top 20 economies by economic growth are in Africa. In the United States of America, African Americans possess over 1.1 trillion in economic purchasing power. Does the foregoing amount to what Dr. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. describes as the audacious power he told us to seek in his Black Position paper? If not, then consider the following. We are just over 3 years away from the centennial of the month-long August 1920 UNIA convention. Though widely overlooked by historians, the event remains a critical turning point in the history of Africa and its diaspora. Among other things, it marks the point where people of African ancestry began to define reality on the global scale. That convention gave us the Declaration of Rights of the Negro People of the World. In those declarations is found Declaration 39, declaring red, black, and green as the colors of Africans at home and abroad. The one statement has embedded in it the potential to completely do away with the barriers erected between African people at home and abroad during the colonialism, and the Berlin Conference. MAAFA. I know I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Maafa. Our ancestors infused the RBG, I guess that's red, black, and green, with culturally coded wisdom. They used those colors to symbolically unite us through the red blood, which connects us to the origins of the entire human race on the continent of Africa, through the melanin currently worth over $380 a gram more than gold that makes Black people Black, and through the lush, abundant material wealth of the most valuable real estate on earth, the continent of Africa. Marcus Garvey. Despite what you just read, some people will still be less than enthusiastic about now being the time for us to accept our purpose. Despite what you just read, most people will still be less than enthusiastic about now being the time for us to accept our purpose. The rest of us know that there is nothing in the universe mightier than the power of the human spirit. Let's get started. That's the preface. So, Marcus Garvey is going in alphabetical order for each of these sections from A to wherever it ends. From A to W. From A to W. So we'll keep reading each little part as much as we can. First, Action. Emancipated from mental slavery. Action. Confidence. Conviction. Action will cause us to be free men today. Lady H. Vinton Davis. UNIA, the international organizer Henrietta Vinton Davis, Lady Commander of the Sublime Order of the Nile. Before becoming a member of the UNA, Lady Davis was an actress, elocutionist. What is that? An elocutionist. What is an elocutionist? Elocutionist. Elocutionist. O-L-E-O-C. The art of speaking or reading correctly in public, an elocutionist. Someone skilled in or who teaches the art. Elocution. I guess that's what I'm trying to do. Learn to read correctly and speak in public. Elocution. She was an actress, an elocutionist, a dramatic reader, and a delineator of Shakespearean oratory. She helped organize the first Black Cross nurses, as well as was a director and vice president of the Black Star Line. That was Miss Henrietta Vinton Davis. Action. Marcus Garvey, Africa. Lest Africa be our guiding star, our star of destiny. How dare anyone tell us that Africa cannot be redeemed when we have 400 million, now over 1 trillion men and women with warm blood coursing through their veins. The power that holds Africa is not divine. The power that holds Africa is human. And it is recognized that whatsoever man has done, man can do. No one knows what the hour of Africa's redemption cometh, or when the hour of African redemption cometh. It is in the wind. It is coming. One day, like a storm, it will be here. When the days come, all Africa will stand together. Any sane man, race, or nation that desires freedom must first of all think in terms of blood. Why? Even the Heavenly Father tells us that without the shedding of blood, there can be no remission of sins. Then how in the name of God, with history before us, do we expect to redeem Africa without preparing ourselves, some of us, to die? Political readjustment of the world means this, that every race must find a home. Hence, the great cry of Palestine for the Jews, Ireland for the Irish, India for the Indians, and simultaneously Africans are raising the cry of Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. The only wise thing for us as ambitious Africans to do is to organize the world over and build up for the race a mighty nation of our own in Africa. And this race of ours that cannot get recognition and respect in the country where we are slaves, by using our own ability, power, and genius, would develop for ourselves in another country and in our habitat a nation of our own, and be able to send back from that country, from that native habitat, to the country where we were once enslaved, representatives of our race that would get as much respect as any other ambassadors from any other race or nation. It is hoped that when the time comes for American and West Indian Africans to settle in Africa, they will realize their responsibility and their duty. It will not be to go to Africa for the purpose of exercising an overlordship over the natives, but it shall be the purpose of the Universal Negro Improvement Association to have established in Africa that brotherly cooperation which make the interests of the African native and the American and West Indian African one and the same. That is to say, we shall enter into a common partnership to build up Africa in the interest of our race. I understand that just at this time, while we are endeavoring to create public opinion and public sentiment in favor of the free Africa, that others of our race are being subsidized to turn that attention of the world towards a different desire on the part of Africans. But let me tell you that we who make up the organization know no turning back. We have pledged ourselves even unto the last drop of our sacred blood that Africa must be free. It falls to our lot to tear off the shackles that bind Mother Africa. Can we do it? We did not in America or the American Revolutionary War. We did it in the American Revolutionary War. We did it in the American Civil War. We did it at the battles of the Marne and Verdun. We did it in Mesopotamia. We did it in marching up the battle heights of Africa. Let the world know that 400 million, now 1 trillion, is it trillion or billion? Was nine zeros. 90, trillion, a billion, a million, a billion. Now 1 billion Africans are prepared to die or live as free men. Despise us as much as you care. Ignore us as much as you care. We are coming. 400 million or 1 billion suffering behind us. Woes and suffering of 300 years. They shall be our inspiration. My bulwark of strength in the conflict for freedom in Africa will be the 300 years of persecution and hardship left behind in this Western Hemisphere. The more I remember the suffering of my forefathers, the more I remember the lynchings and the burnings in the southern states of America, the more I will fight on even though the battlefield seems doubtful. Tell me that I must turn back, and I laugh you to scorn. Go on, climb ye the heights of liberty, and cease not in well-doing until you have, until you have planted the banner of the red, the black, and the green on the hilltops of Africa. We want only those things that belong to the black race. Africa is ours. To win Africa, we will give up America. We will give up our claim in all other parts of the world, but we must have Africa. We will give up the vain desire of having a seat in the White House of America, of having a seat in the House of the Lords of England, of being president of France, for the chance and opportunity of filling these positions in a country of our own. This determination and wonderful and exceptional loyalty to an African leader reveals beyond the shadow of a doubt that there is some longing in the souls, heart, and breast of these people for the realization of the ideals of their repatriation to Africa and the founding and establishing for them there of a nation of their own. That there must be a sincere desire and a longing on the part of those people to be returned to their fatherland. And if a plebiscite, well, there's a lot of words I don't know today. Plebiscite, Plebiscite, plebiscite. But just like number 3 or 4. Number 3 or 4. plebiscite. Plebiscite. P-L-E. Plebiscite. A vote of the entire electorate on a national issue. Constitutional change. A plebiscite. And if a plebiscite or a vote on a constitutional issue or a constitutional change, a plebiscite of or a referendum to the masses of the people were to be taken, it would show an overwhelming majority in favor of the plan of returning the race to Africa by careful and proper arrangements and methods. It will be useless, as before stated, for the bombastic Negroes to leave America and the West Indies to go to Africa, thinking that they will have privileged positions to inflict upon the race that bastard aristocracy that they have tried to maintain in this Western world at the expense of the masses. Africa shall develop an aristocracy of its own, but it shall be based upon service and loyalty to race. For 5 years, the Universal Negro Improvement Association has been advocating to the cause of Africa for the Africans, that is, that the Negro people of the world should concentrate upon the object of building up for themselves a great nation in Africa. When we started our propaganda towards its end, several of the so-called intellectual Negroes who have been bamboozling the race for over half a century said that we were crazy, that the Negro people of the Western world were not interested in Africa and could not live in Africa. Hooray, hooray, better times are near. Let us front the conflict and prepare. Greet the world as soldiers, bravely true. Sunder not, Africa shouts to you. We are men, human beings, capable of the same acts as many other races, possessing under fair circumstances the same intelligence as any other race. You do not know Africa. Africa has been sleeping for centuries, not dead, only sleeping. Ruth Garvey Prescott, the niece of Marcus Garvey, wearing her Black Cross nurse uniform. You have potential. You have the vast continent of Africa. You have the scattered millions of our race in all the countries of the world coming in contact with science and technical and mechanical devices. You have the chance. All you want is the will to do and dare others to stop you. This is my hope for you. And this is the fear others have for you. That is why they watch you so carefully, that you may not get away with any progressive ideas, which would be a surprise to the world of others. Hail, United States of Africa free, country of the brave black men's liberty, state of greater nationhood thou hast won, a new life, for the race is just begun. Africa has produced countless numbers of men and women in war and in peace, whose luster and bravery outshine that of any other people. Then, why not see good and perfection in ourselves? We must inspire a literature and promulgate a doctrine of our own without any apologies to the powers that be. Ambition. Ambition is the desire to go forward and improve one's condition. It is a burning flame that lights up the life of the individual and makes him see himself in another state. To be ambitious is to be great in mind and soul. To want that which is what is worthwhile and strive for it. To go on without looking back, reaching to that which gives satisfaction. To be humanely ambitious is to take in the world which is the province of man. To be divinely ambitious is to offend God by reveling him in his infinite majesty. Reviling. To be divinely ambitious is to offend God by reviling him in his infinite majesty. America. Why should the African die? Has he not served America and the world? Has he not borne the burden of civilization in this Western world for 300 years? Has he not contributed of his best to America? Surely all this stands to his credit, but there will not be enough room. And the one answer is find a place. We have found a place. It is Africa. And as black men for 3 centuries have helped white people build America, surely generous and grateful white men will help black men build Africa. So it has a cartoon, a couple of cartoon snippets in here. It says, "Bah, I've lost nothing in Africa. Thoughtless Western black man." Then it has a white man. It has African resources and he's picking up everything. Gold, oil, rubber, diamonds, palm nuts. You can pause it and take a look. Change, hence, has never been satisfied the hope of the suffering of a suffering people. Action, self-reliance, the vision of self and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. Christianity, a form of religion practiced by the millions, but as misunderstood and unreal to the majority as gravitation is to the untutored savage. We profess to live in the atmosphere of Christianity, yet our acts are as barbarous as if we never knew Christ. He taught us to love, yet we hate, to forgive, yet we revenge, to be merciful, yet we condemn and punish, and still we are Christians. If hell is what we are taught it is, then there will be more Christians there than days in all creation. To be a true Christian, one must be like Christ and practice Christianity, not as the bishop does, but as he says. For if our lives were to be patterned after the other fellow, all of us, bishop, priest, and layman, would ultimately meet around the furnace of hell, and none of us, because of our sins, would see salvation. Christmas. What's up? Come here, my boy. What's going on? How you doing? What's the business? What? You hit your foot? DJ hit your foot or you hit your foot? Well, since you hit your foot or since DJ hit, what you got in your face? Let's read. We're going to sit here and read, all right? All right, sit back. We're going to read. Sit back. Christmas. Sons and daughters of Africa, may not 400 million, over 1 billion today of us, the world over, on this Christmas morn, pray for the redemption of that motherland which sheltered our blessed Redeemer, when the wild, wicked men of the world sought his life in the same manner. Wild, wicked men of the world seek the lives of Africans today and burn, lynch, and kill them because they have not the strength that makes man mighty. But with the almighty power of God and with the guidance and mercy of our blessed Lord, we feel that one day Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hand, and whether it be at the second coming or before, we shall all sing our hosannas, shout our praises to God for freedom, for liberty, for life. Yeah, I express myself. Civilization. The world today is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and science from Africa. Then why should we be ashamed of ourselves? Their modern improvements are but duplicates of a grander civilization that we reflected thousands of years ago, without the advantage of what is buried and is still hidden, to be resurrected and reintroduced by the intelligence of our generation and our prosperity. Why should we be discouraged because somebody laughs at us today? Who to tell what tomorrow, who to tell what tomorrow will bring forth? Did they not laugh at Moses, Christ, and Muhammad? Was there not a Carthage, Greece, and Rome? We see and have changes every day. So pray, work, be steadfast, and be not dismayed. Communism. We declared then, as we declare now, that the African should not allow himself to be absorbed by communism, because ultimately communism in its treatment to Africans will be no better than other isms we have had since the Africans came into contact with the European civilization. Civilization. We declared then and still declare that communism among Africans was only an effort to line up other powerful minority groups with other disconnected minority groups of the world, to strengthen the hands of communism, to smash the present order, out of which rise and universal communism that would be as dangerous to the peace of the world and oppressive to the control of any other system than went before. We claim then, and we claim now, that a European communist will be no different when he gets into power to the southern cracker of the United States. The cracker has in his blood the desire or the wish to kill and brutalize the African because of his vaunted image of superiority based upon the difference of color. When you scratch the communist beneath the surface, you will find him the same vicious Southerner whose political belief will not surmount his racial prejudices. And for this, we have we have always kept communism at bay. Hence, no one will mistake us for having any sympathy for the communists as far as bringing the African into communism is concerned. We are interested only to watch the results of their mighty effort and to seize our chance to be what we ought to be by not being born fools. Can we blame the communists for calling us born fools in America when the opportunity was ripe, pointed to Africa toward the building up of great industrial enterprises, the establishment of steamship lines to link up the commerce of the race throughout the world, and particularly between Africa, the West Indies, and North America? The intellectual fools of the African race laughed when I told them it was time to get hold of Liberia and make it the center of the world African activities. Yes, go get some shoes on your feet. DJ, you know it's time for your bed, son. It is bedtime. You're supposed to be in the bed, but you can sit up here for a little while Daddy finish reading. I'm gonna read a couple of more pages. I'm going to read to Emancipation. I'm gonna read to Emancipation. Stopping the E's. The intellectual fools of the African race laughed when I told them that it was time to get hold of Liberia and make it the center of world African activities, thereby demonstrating nations that the colored man was able to build and control a nation of his own. The African intellectuals laughed again. We organized a plan for building 4 modern cities in the Republic of Liberia as the first concentration centers for the Africans of the West Indies and America to link up their intelligence with the native African in the scheme of nation building. That's not just shoes. When we were able to influence the Liberian government to give a concession of lands and a budget of $2 million, was prepared to start the work. The engineers and experts landed on the spot in Liberia. A black president of Liberia by the name of Charles Dunbar King, who had acquiesced to the proposition, saw the possibility of getting graft from Harvey Firestone, the American millionaire of the Firestone Rubber Company. He gave to the Firestone interests the landed concessions in Liberia that were intended to be the concentration centers of African colonists who were to go there to build up the republic and prove to the world that the African was capable in government. Just at this minute, we have on our desk a confidential report we have received from Geneva, a plea from an ambassador from Liberia asking us to help now to do the thing that we attempted to do 8 years ago, because the Firestone interests have ravished the country and have reduced the people almost to a state of serfdom, to be mildly relieved only by the timely effort of the League of Nations. Do you wonder that the communist call of race so childish and simple, born fools? We know that most of the Africans who have led communism in America and in other parts of the world have done so only because of the easy money they could collect from the Soviet Union or from the Communist Party, the New Jamaicans on September 5th, 1932. Communism in USA. If the African takes my advice, he will organize by himself and always keep his scale of wage a little lower than the whites until he is able to become, through proper leadership, his own employer. By so doing, he will keep the goodwill of the white employer and live a little longer under the present scheme of things. If not, between communism, white trade unionism, and workers' parties, he is doomed to be the next 25 or 50 or 100 years to complete economic and general extermination. Confidence. If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. With confidence, you have won even before you have started. With confidence, you have won even before you have started. As the Jew is held together by his religion, the white races by the assumption and the unwritten law of superiority, and the Mongolian by the precision tie of blood, so likewise the African must be united in one grand racial hierarchy. Our union must know no clime, boundary, or nationality. Like the great Church of Rome, Africans the world over must practice one faith, that of confidence in themselves, with one God, one aim, one destiny. Criticism. Criticism is an opinion for good or ill, generally indulged in by the fellow who knows more than anyone else, yet the biggest fool. There is no criticism that calls not forth yet another. The last critique is the biggest fool. The last critic is the biggest fool of all. For the world starts and ends with him. He is the source of all knowledge, yet knows nothing. For there is not a word one finds to use that there is not another that hath the same meaning. Then, wherefore do we criticize? Death. Death is the end of all life in the individual or the thing. If physical, the crumbling of the body into dust from whence it came. He who lives not uprightly dies completely in the crumbling of the physical body. but he who lives well transforms himself from what is mortal to immortal. What's up, son? I prefer to die at this moment rather than not to work for the freedom of Africa. After my enemies are satisfied in all life or death, I shall come back to you to serve even as I have served before. In life, I shall be the same. In death, I shall be terror to the foes of African liberty. If death has power, then count on me in death to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. I may come in an earthquake or cyclone or a plague or pestilence, or as God would have me. Then be assured that I shall not desert you or make your enemies triumph over you. Would I not go to hell 1,000,000 times for you? Would I not, like Macbeth's ghost, walk the earth forever for you? Would I not lose the whole world and eternity for you? Would I not cry forever before the footstool of the Lord omnipotent for you? Would I not die 1,000,000 deaths for you? Then why be sad? Cheer up and be assured that if it takes 1,000,000 years, the sins of our enemies shall visit the 1,000,000th generation of those that hinder and oppress us. If I die in Atlanta, my work shall be then only begin, but I shall live in the physical or spiritual to see the day of Africa's glory. When I am dead, the mantle of the red, black, and green around me, for in the new life, I shall rise with God's grace and blessing to lead the millions up the heights of triumph with the colors that you well know. Look for me in the whirlwind or the storm. Look for me all around. For with God's grace, I shall come and bring with me countless millions of black slaves who have died in America and the West Indies and the millions of Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Disarmament. Present-day statesmen are making the biggest blunder of the age if they believe that there can be any peace without equity and justice to all mankind. Any attempt at disarmament when half the world oppresses the other half is but a farce, because the oppressed will make their oppressors get armed sooner or later. Economics. A race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence sooner or later dies. Oh man, that's good. It is good. That is a good saying. A race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence sooner or later dies. Sooner or later they die, DJ. Mm-hmm. A race.
That's an A.
It is an A, son. It is an A. Correct.
Just put the alphabets on the TV.
That's right, on our refrigerator. As we have in the past been living upon the mercy shown us by others, and by the chance obtainable, and have suffered therefrom, so will we in the future suffer if an effort is not made now to adjust our own affairs. It is only a question of time when the African, economically dependent as he is on the white man, would be forced to the wall, and that the solution of the problem in the future would not be as so much by wholesale killing or wiping out of African populations, but by well-organized economic starvation. Education. Education is the medium by which a people are prepared for the creation of their own particular civilization and the advancement and glory of their own race. To be learned in all that is worthwhile knowing. Not to be crammed with the subject matter of the book or the philosophy of the classroom, but to store away in your head such facts as you need for the daily application of life, so that you may be better in all things, understand your fellow man, and interpret your relationship to your Creator. You can educate your soul, vision, and as well as in mind. To see your enemy and know him is a part of the complete education of man. To spiritually regulate oneself is another form of the higher education that fits man for a noble place in the life. And still, to approach your brother by the feeling of your own humanity is an education that softens the ills of the world and makes us kind indeed. Many a man was educated outside the schoolroom. It is something you let out, not completely take in. You are part of it, for it is natural. It is dormant simply because you will not develop it. But God created every man with it knowingly or unknowingly to him who possesses it. That's the difference. Develop yours, and you become as great and full of knowledge as the others, as the other fellow without even entering the classroom. Africa invites capital to develop its resources. Let the capital, whether it be financial or manpower, be supplied by white men. But let us as Africans make our contribution. All that Africa needs is proper education or information. The African abroad has much of that, and it is our duty to so prepare our brothers as to place them on guard against the trickery or the tricky exploiters of Europe who have been deceiving and robbing them for their possessions. Emancipation. We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is your only ruler, sovereign. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of the other man who uses his mind, because man is related to man under all circumstances for good or for ill. If man is not able to protect himself from the other man, he should use his mind to good advantage. Huh? What? I don't know. Come sit here. The fool will always carry the heavy burden, but the fool will always be crushed without a tear from God or man, because God Almighty never made a fool. God is all wise. When God Almighty made man in his own image and likeness, it wasn't the physical, it was the mind that was like God. Every man represents God in his unitary intelligence. Unitary intelligence.
That's a W.
Where?
That's a W right there.
That's right. Good job, son. Good job.
It's like the alphabet.
Yes, it is an alphabet. It is an alphabet.
Yeah, blue.
That is right. That is blue. What color is this?
Green.
No, sir. This is orange. That's green.
I got the alphabet right here.
And that's yellow. Yes, sir.
Alphabet.
He hasn't prepared. He hasn't repeated. Let me see. My bad. God, every man represents God in his unitary intelligence. When man abuses intelligence, he lowers himself. God has given you intelligence to take care of you. He hasn't repeated himself yet. God was so thoughtful of man and his progeny that he made a variety of things so as to pander to the taste of the atoms that would come after the first. When God made you, he made you the master of the world, not serfs and slaves, but your mind must be developed intelligently. It is your mind that rules the body. Put that shoe down. Put that shoe down.
That's so funny.
It is your mind that rules the body. You cannot go further than that mind to seek truth and to know truth and to react to truth. Equality. God Almighty created all men equal, whether they be white, yellow, or black, or for any race to admit that it cannot do what others have done is to hurl an insult at the Almighty who created all races equal in the beginning. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I made it.
Adam was different. Adam was different from the other people.
Different.
That's Prince Robert Lincoln Poston.
What color is his shirt?
His shirt is white, but he's a dark-skinned man. That's a dark-skinned man. Equality. God Almighty created all men equal, whether they be white, yellow, or black. And for any race to admit that it cannot do what others have done is to hurl an insult to the Almighty, who created all races equal in the beginning. In the beginning. In the beginning. Beginning. Ethiopia.
That's you. And that's my man.
We have gradually won our way back into the confidence of the God of Africa. And he shall, and he,
And that's me.
yeah, there you go.
He.
And he shall,
What
and
is that?
he shall,
What is that on the shirt?
he has a tie on. He has a tie and a suit.
And on the shoe.
Yes, sir, a suit.
What is that?
So that's a dark-skinned brother.
That's a mother.
A dark-skinned brother. Why did you put it? Why are you pulling it out your shoes? See, I don't like when you do stuff like this, man. Stop pulling all this stuff out your shoes. You understand me, son? All right. He shall speak with the voice of thunder that shall shake the pillars of the corrupt and unjust world, and once more restore Ethiopia to her ancient glory. The psalmist prophesied that princes would come out of Egypt and Ethiopia, would stretch forth their hands unto God. We have no doubt that the time is now come. Ethiopia is now really stretching forth her hands. The great kingdom of the East has been hidden for many centuries, but gradually she is rising to take a leading place in the world. And it is for us, the African race, to assist in every way to hold up the head of the Emperor Rastafari, the black man, November 18, 1930. Hold the fort until our generations rise in their consciousness to the salvation of their own souls. Time is eternal, and the everlasting watchman who stands at the gate of eternity beckons to us, and the time shall come when Ethiopia will be free and our work redeemed. Evolution. Evolution brings us changes that sometimes make us fail to recognize ourselves even after a lapse of centuries. Extermination. This rush for territory, this encroachment on lands, is only a desire of the strong nations, especially the white race, to get hold of those portions and bits of land necessary for their economic existence, knowing well that in another 200 years, there will not be enough supplies in the world for all of its inhabitants. The weaker peoples must die. At present, Africans are the weakest people. And if we do not get power and strength, we shall be doomed to extermination. Faith. Hold fast. I guess it's supposed to be hold. Hold fast to the faith. Desert not the ranks, but as brave soldiers, march on to victory. I'm happy and shall remain so as long as you keep the flag flying. As long as you keep the flag flying, son. Okay, this is the last page. Fear. Fear. Fear is a state of nervousness fit for children and not men. When man fears a creature like himself, he offends God, in whose image and likeness he is created. Go ahead, push it down. Man being created equal fears not man, but God. To fear is to lose control of one's nerves, one's will, to flutter like a dying fowl, losing consciousness, yet alive. Force. The powers opposed to African progress will not be influenced in the slightest by mere verbal protest on our part. They realize only too well that protests of this kind contain nothing but the breath expended in making them. They also realize that their success in enslaving and dominating the darker portion of humanity was due solely to the element of force employed. In the majority of cases, this was accomplished by force of arms. Pressure, of course, may assert itself into other forms, but in the last analysis, whatever influences brought to bear against the powers opposed to African progress must contain the element of force in order to accomplish its purpose, since it is apparent that this is the only element that they recognize. Recognize. You better be careful. You better be careful. Recognize.
Recognize?
Mm-hmm.
Recognize.
Forward to Africa. Forward to Africa. Yes, sir, Africa. The thoughtful and industrious of our race want to go back to Africa because we realize it will be our only hope of permanent existence. We cannot all go in a day or year or 10 or 20 years. It will take time under the rule of modern economics to entirely or largely depopulate a country of a people who have been its residents for centuries. But we feel that with proper help for 50 years, the problem can be solved. Solved. With a V. Solved. Solved. Yes, sir. We do not want all the Africans in the diaspora in Africa. So some are no good here, and naturally will be no good there. The no good Africans will naturally die in 50 years. The African who is wrangling about the fighting for social equality will naturally pass away in 50 years and yield his place to the progressive African who wants a society and country of his own. Africans of his own. Africans are divided into two groups: the industrious and adventurous, and the lazy and dependent. The industrious and adventurous believe that whatsoever others have done, it can be. The Universal Negro Improvement Association belongs to this group, and so you find us working 6 million strong to the goal. Strong, 6 million strong. To the goal, my Lord, man. To the goal of an independent nationality. Who will not help? Only the mean and despicable, who never to himself had said, "This is my own, my native land." Africa is the legitimate, moral, and righteous home of all Africans, and now that the time is coming for all to assemble under their own vine and fig tree, we feel it our duty to arouse every African to the consciousness of himself. Hey, calm down. Calm down. White and black will learn to respect each other. It says Shilo Park. Now calm down.
What is that?
Shilo Park. White and black will learn to respect each other when they cease to be active competitors in the same countries for the same things in politics and society. Let them have countries of their own, wherein to aspire and climb without rancor. The races can be friendly and helpful to each other, but the laws of nature separate us to the extent of each and every one developing by itself. By itself.
By yourself?
Yes, sir.
What's by yourself?
By yourself. Like you're by yourself. You're standing on that stump by yourself right now.
I'm on the phone.
You're standing on the stump by yourself. We want an atmosphere all our own. We would like to govern and rule ourselves and not be encumbered and restrained. We feel now just as the white race would feel if they were governed and ruled by the Chinese. If we live in our own districts, let us rule and govern those districts. If we have majority in our communities, let us run those communities. We form a majority in Africa, and we should naturally govern ourselves there. No man can govern another man's house as well as himself. Oh, that's a head busser. That is a head busser. No man can govern another man's house as well as himself. You can't tell me what I need in my house. It's my house. Let us have fair play. Let us have justice. This is the appeal we make to white America. It is a mistake to suppose that I want to make the Africans in the diaspora, I want to take the Africans in the diaspora to Africa. I believe that the American Africans have helped to establish the North American civilization and therefore have a perfect right to live in the U.S. and to aspire to equality of opportunities and treatment. Each African can be a citizen of the nation in which he was born or that he has chosen. But I foresee the building of a great state in Africa, which featuring in the concert of the great nations will make the African respectable as the others. Africans will be favored by the building of this African state, because when the state exists, they will be considered and respected as descendants of this powerful country, which has enough strength to protect them. Whew, man, we're going to stop there. We're going to stop there. The next part we'll start at is future. Man, we read almost half the book. We have read almost half the book already. We're flying through that. We're flying through that. We have read half the book already. Oh, Lord, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. The words was going on, man. Yeah, we have read almost half the book. Yeah, read almost half the book already. Which is great. Get it in, get it out. Get it in, get it out, baby. Let's keep pushing, man. We emancipation or emancipated from mental slavery. I am done, son.
You're done reading?
Yes, sir, I'm done reading.
You're not done.
Huh?
You're not done.
You're not done doing what?
You're not done.
What DJ doing something?
Watching.
You know it's time for your bed, right? You know it's bedtime, right? You know it's bedtime, right? You know it's your bedtime, right? So what do you need to do? You don't need to stretch. You need to go get ready for bed. You need to go get ready for bed. So. Hey, that was it for that one, man. I appreciate everybody, man, who is listening to me read, following along with us, with reading with Shilo.
Reading with DJ. Reading with man.
That's right, reading with man. Right. We're gonna keep pushing through the different books.
I want to read, don't you? Want to read?
You want to read? We're gonna keep pushing through the different books. Slowly but surely. You know, every day a little bit, read a little bit. It doesn't hurt.
What it says?
It says, emancipated from mental slavery. Selected sayings of Marcus Garvey is what it says.
That's what it says.
Hold on, let me look. Mosquitoes tearing you up, bro.
Mosquitoes was tearing up.
Yeah, man, till next time, though. Welcome to all the new subscribers on YouTube. Welcome, man. Let's keep pushing. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's keep it growing. Let's see what we can keep learning. But until next time, man, Shilo out. Shilo out.
DJ out and Man out.
And Man out. That's right. All right. Shalom, everybody. I hope y'all have a nice night. All right, it's bedtime for y'all boys. I don't want to hear it. It's bedtime.